This is the second episode of the series Visions of W5, a collection of musings about what I think might be interesting in the 5th edition of the tabletop RPG Werewolf the Apocalypse. Before we can discuss this next topic, we need to make sure we're all on the same page. What the hell is a Fera? Well, it's like this. Werewolves aren't the only shapeshifters in the world of darkness. There are also were-cats, were-hyenas, were-ravens, were-coyotes, were-bears, were-rats, were-lizards, dinosaur dragons, were-spiders, were-sharks, were-snakes, and were-foxes. There also used to be the were-aurochs and were-bats, who were killed off, and the were-boars, who became monsters known as the skull-pigs. A type of shifter is called a breed. For example, Bastet is the name of the werecat breed. Collectively, they are known as the changing breeds, or the Fera. I personally use the term Fera to avoid confusion with the character's birth forms, such as Lupus, Garuborn, or Hamid, which is also referred to as a breed. And each of these Feras are Gaia's something. Everyone has been given a job so that the world goes round, like the Gurul, aka the Werebear, who are Gaia's caretakers and teachers. They defend the lands and nurture those under their protection. The main issue with the playability of the Fera is a little thing called the War of Rage. See, long ago, an entitled Silverfang prick decided it would be a good idea to kill all of the other breeds because they were clearly, all of them, of the worm for one reason or another. There's a lot more to this story. In fact, there was even more than one War of Rage, but I'll actually leave it at that because that's not what we're here to talk about today. The result of that war is that, in theory, the Garu now believe they're the only ones left, and all of the other Feras would like it to stay that way. You can see how that would make them difficult to be playable in a game called Werewolf the Apocalypse. To make matters worse, most of them are loners who don't really have any reason to team up with anyone else. Don't get me wrong, I adore the Fera. They are easily my favorite part of the lore, but they're more or less unplayable in the standard game. Must they remain so? Hold that thought. We'll get back to it. We said that the game was called Werewolf the Apocalypse. We didn't say it was called Garu Nation, the role-playing game. Just like Vampire the Masquerade isn't Camarilla, the role-playing game. The fact is that there are many examples of Garu-Fera collaboration and or conflicts in the books. Far too many, in fact, for the blanket statement of the Garu think the Fera are gone to hold much water. Probably why it wasn't used anymore by the end of the game line. So, my point is, why not drop it entirely and embrace the fact that Fera are there and they have alliances with werewolves pretty much everywhere, including with several tribes who are active members of the Garu Nation. The best known example of this are the Beast Courts, also known as the Ingeokai. It's an alliance of several breeds of Fera and one werewolf tribe working together in Asia. There's also the Ahadi, a recent African alliance where the were-hyenas have regrouped all the local breeds along with 3 Garu tribes to fight against a common foe. That leaves us with, well, everywhere else. There, where the Garu nation rules, or does it? Let's be honest. The time of the Silverfangs was in decline with the rise of Margrave Konietzko and his successful recruitment of the Red Talon, the Black Furies, and Fianna under his banner. Adding in a few years, it would not be a stretch to say that suddenly Europe is no longer part of the nation, and a new faction is born from the ashes of a plot introduced by the end of the Revised era. Meanwhile, in America, King Albrecht is left to rule over the shambles of a dying nation. Maybe it's time for them both to look for new allies. What about the Fera? It's really not that far-fetched. For starters, the native tribes did not take part in the Wars of Rage. The Black Fury are pals with the Mokole, the Fenrir and the Fianna get along with the Koraks, and, well, you get the idea, right? By pulling the camera back away from the nation, We can still have a core book called Werewolf the Apocalypse, which would include all of the 13 Garou tribes. But then we can also have books about the Garou Nation, and for the faction aligned with Konietzko, just like Vampire has books for the Camarilla, the Anarch Movement, and the Sabbat. Each of which could introduce a few of the breeds which most closely aligns with this group. With a little tweaking, you can justify the presence of both factions all across the world, creating a tense political landscape. Back to our point. This gives Feras a reason to interact with werewolves, even join cairns or packs. They would still be very few of them, but they would be relevant and playable. The Fera have seen the Garou go to war. Some may feel it's in their best interest to get involved before it's too late. Now, I hear you saying, dude, the game needs to focus on werewolves, and that's completely fair. In this vision, the Fera would still be opt-in. Their rarity means your players may never run into one. That's fine. But the option would be there, accessible. The factions have an added benefit. You see, they give more playability to something else too. The tribes themselves. There's a lot of tribal hatred in the game, and to make matters worse, usually a sept or even an entire country is specific to one tribe. That means intertribal collaboration is rare, so justifying a multi-tribal pack isn't always easy. Now, if Karens are allied to a specific faction against another, automatically this shifts around. Suddenly, the us versus them mechanics isn't Fenrir against Fury, or Fenrir against Fianna, or Fenrir against Children of Gaia. It's suddenly nation against Konietzko's gang. The enemy are gaining territory. Well, let's work together to push them back and show them their place. Suddenly, making a pack with, let's say, a Glasswalker Hacker, a Fenrir Strongarm, and a Silverfang Faceman isn't that hard to conceive. How? Well, for example, you could start them with a common goal to procure incriminating evidence against the other faction's political envoy. And once that's done, well, hey, we worked pretty well together. Why not make the pack official and keep showing the worm what's what? Next episode, we'll talk about inclusion. Possible ways to help folks feel more welcome. Now, I'm no expert, and I leave the finer details of that discourse to those who know better than I, in hopes that such experts will be hired to work on the next iteration of the game. Of course, if that's all I said about it, it wouldn't be a very interesting episode, so I will venture a few guesses and ideas. See you there.